Hello friends, today we are going to discuss an important aspect of political science, that is sovereignty. Sovereignty means the supreme power of the state. Every state becomes powerful with the help of sovereignty. Sovereignty provides all the power and authority to the state. Thus, sovereignty is like an oxygen for the survival of the state. So, sovereignty is a supreme power. In fact, the word sovereignty is derived from a Latin word superinus. Superinus means supreme. State is supreme. In a society, there may be so many organizations, but among them the state is supreme. So, state cannot be challenged. State cannot be questioned. State has highest authority. So, the highest authority and the highest power of the state is called as the sovereignty. So, the word sovereignty is an English word. It is derived from a Latin word superinus. It means the supreme or supreme power. There are two aspects to the concept of sovereignty. One is internal sovereignty, the other one is external sovereignty. Internal sovereignty means the supreme power of the state within the four boundaries of the or within the territory of the state. It is called as the internal sovereignty. Take for example, India is a sovereign country. It has both internal sovereignty and external sovereignty. Internal sovereignty means among the four borders, in the north we have Himalayas, in the south we have Indian Ocean, in the east we have Bay of Bengal, in the west we have Arabian Sea. So, within these four boundaries, the people are controlled by the government. The government has supreme power, the state has supreme power to make the laws, to make the people accountable to the government, to ask the people to pay taxes to the government. So, this is how the power of the people, the power of the state over the people is called as the internal sovereignty. Internal sovereignty means the supreme power of the state within the country on the people and the territory. That is called as the internal sovereignty. Then second one is external sovereignty. External sovereignty means the political independence of a state is called as the external sovereignty. We have supreme power to decide who should be our friend and who should be our neutral friend or who should be our enemy in the Committee of Nations. There are 193 countries in the world. Among them, who should be more friendly with India, who should be more cooperation with India, who should be having negative relations with India, that is to be decided by the Indians. So, this is called as the political independence. Political independence means the power of the state to decide its external affairs, external policies, external developments of the state is called as the external sovereignty. So, that is also known as the political sovereignty or political independence. So, these are the two important aspects of sovereignty. One is internal sovereignty, the other one is external sovereignty. And sovereignty has certain important characteristics. What are the important characteristics of sovereignty? By acknowledging and knowing the characteristics of sovereignty, we can know fully well the nature and scope of sovereignty. First one is absoluteness. Absoluteness means the government has absolute powers on the people. The state has absolute powers on the people. The state has the power to make the laws, to implement the laws, to impose the taxes, to arrest the people when the people's behavior is not very good. So, this is how the ultimate power of the state, the unquestionable and unchallengeable power of the state over its people and their associations is called as the absoluteness of the sovereignty. The second one is universality. Universality means the power of the state is universal. Within the country, all the sections of the state, all the sections of people in the state are to be subordinated to the state. They should obey the state. They should not disobey the state. They should respect the state. Without any exception, all the people, without any exception, universally, without any gender discrimination, religious discrimination, social discrimination, or any other type of discrimination, regional discrimination, all people must obey to the commands of the state. This is called as universality. On the other hand, the government and the state has fuller control on the people, irrespective of their divisions among themselves. So, that is called the power of universality. The second one is inalienability. Inalienability means the state and sovereignty are close to each other. You cannot find sovereignty without the state, or you cannot find state without sovereignty. As long as the sovereignty exists, the state exists. As long as the state exists, the sovereignty exists. Sovereignty cannot be divided, nor the state cannot be divided, and these two cannot be separated. That is called as inalienability. You cannot separate state and sovereignty. Sovereignty is like an oxygen to the state for the survival of the state. Without oxygen, human beings cannot survive. Likewise, the state cannot survive without the power of sovereignty. Sovereignty and state coexist with each other. They are closer to each other. So, without one, the other one cannot survive. Without the state, sovereignty is not there. Without sovereignty, state is not there. State and society coexist each other. This is called as inalienability. Inalienability is an important character of the state, of the sovereignty. So, the fourth important characteristic of sovereignty is permanence. The state and sovereignty coexist. As long as the state exists, the sovereignty also exists. As long as the sovereignty exists, the state also exists, and sovereignty is permanently existing with the state. This is called as permanence. And fifth one is indivisibility. We cannot divide the power of sovereignty. If we divide the power of sovereignty, we have to divide the state. That means sovereignty cannot be divided. If the sovereignty is divided, a new country is born. Take for example, during the times of British period, India and Pakistan were united. When the sovereignty is divided and Pakistan is created, Pakistan has its own sovereignty and India has its own sovereignty. That means, if you divide sovereignty, it amounts to division of country. That is why, as long as the country is united, the power of sovereignty cannot be divided. It is indivisible. This is called as indivisibility. And sixth one is exclusiveness. Exclusiveness means it is only the state that has the power of sovereignty. There may be so many associations, political associations, economic associations, social associations, cultural associations in a society. But state is a political association. It is only the state that has sovereign power. Other associations do not have the sovereign power. So, it is the exclusive power of the state. Sovereignty is the exclusive power of the state. So, these are the important characteristics of sovereignty. Let us recapitulate the characteristics. The first one is absoluteness, the second one is universality, and the third one is inalienability, and fourth one is the permanence, and fifth one is indivisibility, and sixth one is exclusiveness. So, this is how these are the 6 important characteristics of sovereignty. Now, let us discuss about the kinds of sovereignty. What are the different types of sovereignty? There are different types of sovereignty according to the location of sovereignty. Sovereignty is located in different points and different individuals. Accordingly, sovereignty is defined as different kinds of sovereignty. First one is titular sovereignty. Titular sovereignty. What do you mean by titular sovereignty? Titular sovereignty means it is the sovereignty by title. The sovereignty by title is called as titular sovereignty. So, that means the king or queen have the title. The Japanese king has a title. The Queen of England, the King of England has a title. So, they have the titles as sovereigns. So, they are called as the titular heads, the titular sovereignty. That means sovereignty is by virtue of their title. That is called as titular sovereignty. In the titular sovereignty, we have the Bhutan, the king of Bhutan is also sovereign. By title, he got the power. So, titular sovereignty means the sovereignty by title is called as the titular sovereignty. The second one is real sovereignty and nominal sovereignty. Real sovereignty and nominal sovereignty. Real sovereignty means the sovereignty given by the Constitution to implement the laws and to directly involve in the administration. That is called as the real sovereignty. Real sovereignty. But on the other hand, the Constitution also gives nominal powers to certain offices. They are called as nominal sovereignty. For example, in the Indian case, Indian Prime Minister and Indian Cabinet is the real sovereignty. They are the real sovereign. They have the real powers. They can interfere in any activity of the administration. So, they are called as the real sovereigns. So, the Constitution of India has clearly defined the role of the Prime Minister and the role of the central cabinet. They are called as the real sovereigns. And the third one is the legal sovereignty. Legal sovereignty means the house or the parliament that passes the laws, that legislate the laws, the legislature is called as the legal sovereignty, because these laws are to be implemented by courts in the judiciary. So, that is why the judiciary looks into the law. That law is passed by the parliament. So, the parliament or the assembly is the legal sovereignty, because legally speaking it is only the law that gives the sovereign power to the government. So, laws passed by the legislature are called as the legal sovereignty, and the laws passed by parliament, and that parliament is called as the legal sovereignty. And fourth one is the political sovereignty. What is political sovereignty? Political sovereignty means the sovereignty of the people to change the government for every 5 years by exercising their right to vote, are called as the political sovereignty. Political sovereignty is nothing but the electorate who enjoy the right to vote, and they exercise the vote once in 5 years, and they decide the fate of the government, they decide the fate of the legislature. So, they elect the representatives to the legislature and executive. So, this is how the power of the people to change the government or to continue the government is called as the political sovereignty. Political sovereignty is always lying with the electorate or the voters who have crossed the age of 18 years in India and who exercise their votes in the parliament elections, assembly elections, local body elections. So, those voters are called as the political sovereignty, because they can change the political fortunes of the country, of the government, of the legislature. They are called as the political sovereignty of the country. And in the kinds of sovereignty, we have popular sovereignty. There is another concept called popular sovereignty. In fact, this popular sovereignty is propagated by one of the social context theorists, Rousseau. Rousseau, in his concept of general will, he propagated the idea of popular sovereignty. According to popular sovereignty, the sovereign power lies with the people, with the media, who can exercise their right to speak against either in favor or against the government on day-to-day basis. They can even influence the public policies. They can influence the decision making in the government. They are called as the popular sovereignty. So, popular sovereignty is exercised on daily basis by media, by social media, by people. So, this is how popular sovereignty is a sovereignty expressed by people on different issues, on different laws, and different activities of the government. So, this is called as popular sovereignty. And the other one is de jure sovereignty. De jure sovereignty. De jure sovereignty is the sovereignty according to the Constitution. Constitution has created certain offices. Constitution has created the post of President of India, the post of Vice President of India, the post of Prime Minister, the post of Chief Justice of Indian Supreme Court, Speaker of Lok Sabha, Vice President of Rajya Sabha, Vice Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Vice President of India. Likewise, these posts exercise their power that is defined by the Constitution in different articles of the Constitution. They are called as de jure sovereignty. De jure sovereignty. De jure means according to legal book, according to the Constitution, they got their powers. They are called as the de jure sovereign. And there is one more aspect called de facto sovereignty. De facto sovereignty means in the name of de jure sovereign, other people may engross upon the de facto sovereigns and they snatch their powers and they enjoy the power. That is called as de facto sovereign. De facto sovereign are not the constitutional sovereigns. In fact, de facto sovereigns are the outside people. They were not given the sovereign power, but they forcefully take the power, either by way of emotions or by way of force. They take the power. That is called a de facto sovereignty. For example, in many popular governments in Africa, Asia and other continents, popular governments are toppled by the military dictators and they capture the power. So, they capture the power against the provisions of the Constitution. That is called as de facto sovereignty. So, sovereignty based on the location of sovereignty can be classified into different types. One is titular sovereignty, second one is real and nominal sovereignty, third one is legal sovereignty, fourth one is political sovereignty, fifth one is popular sovereignty, sixth one is de jure sovereignty, and seventh one is de facto sovereignty. These are the different types of sovereignty. There are also two major theories on sovereignty. One is the monistic theory of sovereignty, the other one is the pluralistic theory of sovereignty. The monistic theory of sovereignty is propagated by John Austin. John Austin is a great philosopher and political theorist of 19th century. He wrote a book titled Lectures on Jurisprudence. In that book, he has defined about sovereignty. So, that is called as monistic theory of sovereignty. According to this theory, sovereignty should have only one source. It should emanate only from one source. Only one source, that is called as monistic theory of sovereignty. So, the monistic theory of sovereignty has certain important characteristics. The first one is, according to Austin, sovereignty must be recognized, must be identified. When somebody asks you who is your sovereign of your country, you should be in a position to show the sovereign power. It should be determinate, it should be determined and determinate. You must physically recognize, you must physically identify a person that he is our sovereign. So, that is called as determinate sovereign. Second one is human superior. A sovereign must always be a human being and a superior human being. By virtue of his power, he becomes superior. A sovereign is always superior because he has so many powers, unchallengeable powers, unquestionable powers. So, a sovereign must be a human superior. And thirdly, a sovereign power has the habit of getting obedience from the people. He has the habitual obedience of getting obedience from the people. He should have the habitual obedience from the people. People should show obedience to the king as a habit, not occasional obedience. Obedience should be on regular basis, on day-to-day basis, minute-to-minute basis. That means a sovereign must get habitual obedience from the bulk of the population. From the bulk of the population, the obedience must emanate to the sovereign. The sovereign should get bulk of the population's habitual obedience. The habitual obedience of the people towards their sovereignty is the third important characteristic of monistic sovereignty. Monistic sovereignty has certain important characteristics. One is the sovereign must be determinate. The second one is a sovereign must be a human superior. And the third one is a sovereign must getting habitual obedience from the people as a habit. And fourth one is a sovereign need not be habitual obedient to people. He need not show any obedience to the people. People should show obedience to the king. People should show obedience to the sovereign power. But sovereign need not show any obedience to the people. This is an important character according to John Austin. So, if the king wants to show obedience, it is okay. If the king does not want to show obedience to the people, it is accepted. That means, king need not show any obedience to the people. And that kind of a society where all these qualities are there for the sovereign, that society is called as a politically independent society with a sovereign. So, according to monistic theory, a sovereign power must be a determinate one, a sovereign power must be a human superior, a sovereign power must get habitual obedience from the bulk of the population, and fourthly, a sovereign power need not show any obedience to the people, and fifth one is the society where the sovereign power is leading is called as a politically independent society. So, this type of societies are very hardly found. Of course, in history you may have found some examples, but in modern times all the societies are democratic. So, monistic theory has its own limitations. So, now the second important theory of sovereignty is the pluralist theory of sovereignty. The pluralist theory of sovereignty is another important theory of sovereignty. According to this theory is propagated by Harold Laski, Ernest Barker, G. D. H. Cole and others. Harold Lasky is a 19th century philosopher, and Ernest Barker is a 19th century philosopher. G.D.H. Cole and others have given pluralist theory of society, pluralist theory of sovereignty in the society. And this theory has some important characteristics. The first one is, state is one of the associations of society. There are so many associations in the society, and in these societies, state is also one of the associations. State is not so great. State is also one of the many associations. Secondly, all the associations must have the power of sovereignty. The power of society is so such that all the associations also must be powerful as the state, as the government. So, because the associations are also striving hard for the welfare of the people, for the betterment of the people, as the state is striving for the betterment of people, even the political associations, economic associations, cultural associations, social associations, there are so many associations, they are also striving hard for the welfare of the people. Then why only the state should have the monopoly of sovereignty? Even associations also need to have some power. That is why the pluralist theory advocates the division of society, the division of sovereignty into various associations. And the third one is, sovereignty cannot be isolated. And fourth one is, sovereignty stands for decentralization of government authority. Sovereignty always expresses that if the authority is centered in one person or one government, that government or the person may become a dictator. That is why the pluralist theory of society, sovereignty, advocates decentralization of government authority. When the power is decentralized, the chances of dictatorship are very minimum. That is why the power should not be concentrated in only one hand. And according to this theory, law is not a command of sovereign. Law is the will of the people. Law emanates from the consent of the people. It should not be considered as a command of the sovereign. And pluralists, though they criticize the state, they do not altogether reject the state. So, friends, these are some of the important aspects of pluralism. So, sovereignty has two important theories. One is the monistic theory, the other one is the pluralistic theory. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.